Welcome to A Slice with Dice, a podcast exploring the ideas, pressures, and possibilities shaping how we learn, lead, and grow. I'm Corey Alderdice. For over 20 years, my work has lived at the intersection of gifted education, leadership development, and school culture, supporting students as they find their strengths, educators as they stretch their thinking, and schools as they build paths that expand opportunity. Ready to dive in? Here's this week's Slice. When we think about what fuels gifted and talented students, achievement usually comes to mind first. We picture trophies, high test scores, science fair projects, or acceptances to selective colleges. But the truth is, what sustains them in the long run isn't achievement at all. It's mattering. And unless schools intentionally cultivate this sense of mattering, we risk raising high-performing young people who are quietly unraveling beneath the weight of their own accomplishments. Author Jennifer Breheny Wallace has been sounding the alarm on this topic in her book, Never Enough, and in her ongoing research on the toll of achievement culture. What she's found is sobering. In survey after survey, young people report feeling as though their worth depends on their performance. They pick up on subtle cues from teachers, parents, even peers that say, "You are valuable only when you're excelling." Wallace calls this the toxic side of achievement culture, and it's especially acute among high-achieving students who often live under relentless pressure to keep producing at a high level. Now, her antidote is what she calls the mattering mindset. The theory of mattering isn't new. It's been studied by psychologists for decades. But Wallace has helped to bring it into sharper focus, especially for families and schools. At its heart, mattering means believing you are valued by others and that you add value back to the world. Psychologist Morris Rosenberg, one of the first to define the concept, suggested that mattering rests on 4 elements: being noticed, feeling important, being relied upon, and being appreciated. These are the ingredients that help people feel anchored, resilient, and secure. The research bears this out. Studies have shown that adolescents who feel they matter are less likely to suffer from depression, anxiety, or suicidal ideation. They're more likely to engage in school, persist through challenges, and form healthy relationships. Conversely, when students feel invisible or believe they are valued only for their performance, their risk of mental health struggles skyrockets. Wallace's contribution is connecting this body of research to the lived experiences of students and families caught in achievement culture, and pointing to mattering as the missing piece. Now think about how this plays out in gifted education. These students are often praised for their intellect from a young age. They're told they're exceptional, that they're bound for big things. And while that's affirming at first, the message can quickly turn into a burden. If my worth is tied to being the smart one, then what happens when I'm surrounded by equally bright peers? What happens when I fail a test or when I don't live up to my own impossibly high standards? For many gifted students, the fear of falling short becomes paralyzing. That's why we see perfectionism, burnout, and identity crises running so deep in this population. So what does it mean to bring a mattering mindset into schools that serve gifted learners? I don't think it means lowering expectations or abandoning rigor. In fact, it can do the opposite. Because when students feel they matter beyond their achievements, they actually have more freedom to take risks, explore new ideas, and recover from failure. They stop treating every grade or competition as a referendum on their worth. Now, cultivating mattering starts with how we see and recognize students. Praise that only focuses on outcomes, "You got the highest score, you're a natural at this," cements the idea that achievement equals value. Instead, we can highlight the qualities of character that make them who they are. Their curiosity, their persistence, their kindness, their creativity. We can say, "I noticed how you stayed with that problem even when it got tough," or "Your question helped the whole class really think differently." Those statements affirm their mattering without tying it to winning or being their best. Now, schools can also be intentional about building belonging. As we know, gifted students often feel out of place, whether in their home schools or even among other gifted peers. Creating communities where they know they are accepted and needed is critical. That might mean designing collaborative projects where each student's role is essential, or mentorship structures where older students support younger ones. These approaches reinforce that they're not just individuals striving alone. They are part of a living, breathing community that counts on them. And here's where the research is particularly encouraging. Studies show that even small, consistent acts of recognition and appreciation have measurable effects on resilience. Students don't need grand gestures to feel they matter. They need ongoing signals that they are seen and valued as people. For gifted learners who are often hyper-attuned to expectations, those signals can make all the difference. And there's also a call here for educators themselves. We can't expect students to embrace a mattering mindset if the culture of the school screams performance above all else. If awards and rankings are constantly elevated while wellness and connection are an afterthought, students will know exactly what matters most. Educators and administrators need to model mattering in how they treat one another, how they structure policies, and how they balance ambition with care. And let's not forget families. Wallace points out that children's resilience is tied directly to the well-being of the adults around them. If parents are overwhelmed by achievement culture themselves, guess what? That anxiety gets passed down. Schools can help by partnering with families, providing workshops, conversations, and resources that shift the focus from what did my child achieve today to how is my child growing as a person? How does my child feel seen and valued in this community? So let's bring this full circle. The point of gifted education is not simply to generate high-achieving students who can master advanced content. The point is to nurture human beings who can use their talents in meaningful ways, who can thrive emotionally as well as academically, and who know deep down that they matter. If we get that wrong, the cost is profound. Brilliant students who burn out, who lose their sense of self, or who never learn how to live beyond the treadmill of performance. But if we get it right, we raise students who can stretch, explore, and contribute from a place of security and wholeness. Here's the challenge I want to leave you with today. Take an honest look at the messages your gifted students are receiving. Are they learning that they matter only when they shine, or do they know they matter even when they stumble? As an educator, what are you modeling, not just in what you say, but what in you reward, what you notice, what you prioritize? Because in the end, achievement may open doors, but mattering is what sustains us when we walk through them. And if we want our gifted students to flourish not just now, but for a lifetime, we have to be the adults who show them that their value was never tied to a score or a title. It was always there, from the start. A Slice with Dice is a production of Aldercube. Thanks for making time to reflect with me. If you're finding value in these episodes, I hope you'll subscribe and help spread the word. Until next week, lead boldly, listen closely, and keep pushing forward. I'll see you then.